One Zambia, One Nation. To present the main news at 19 hours on ZNBC TV, I'm Patricia Ellis. Our sign language interpreter is Johannes Getana. A look at the top stories in the news. African leaders have hailed Zimbabwe's former president, Robert Mugabe, as a liberation hero. Special Assistant to the President for Policy Monitoring and Implementation, Andrew Chela, has called on residents of Chilulu and Misisi areas in Lusaka to desist from vandalizing drainage infrastructure. Local Government Minister Charles Banda says the ministry will from now onwards supervise land allocation by local authorities across the country. And also coming up in the news, Green Eagles' chances of making it to the CAF Champions League group stage suffers a setback after a 2-1 defeat to Angolan side Primero de Agosto. Thank you so much for joining us on the news in detail. African leaders have hailed Zimbabwe's former president Robert Mugabe as a liberation hero during a funeral at the National Stadium in the capital, Harare. President Edgar Lungu was among various dignitaries that paid tribute to Mr. Mugabe. Meanwhile, the Mugabe family says the late former president will only be buried once the monument at Heroes Acre is constructed, which might take about 30 days. Here's a report.
Several dignitaries from around the world have paid their last respect to former Zimbabwean President Robert Mugabe. And the government of Zimbabwe and the family of the late Mr. Mugabe have finally reached a consensus on where Mr. Mugabe will be buried. The late former president will now be buried at the National Heroes Acre in Harare. This was after a row earlier between the government and the family over where and when Mr. Mugabe should be buried. And family spokesperson Leah Mugabe has told ZNBC News that the late Mr. Mugabe will only be buried after a special grave in form of a monument is constructed.
What the family decided is to have President Mugabe buried at the National Heroes Acre, and we informed government, and we in actual fact then asked them to make a special grave for him, a special place for him, different from the rest of the heroes that are buried there.
And the date for burial remains unknown. But Zimbabwean Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Information, Nick Mangwana, says Mr. Mugabe will only be buried once his burial place is ready.
Burial awaits the readiness of the place. There are no specific timelines. Yes, people may have given estimates based on the plans that are going. But as you know, with any project, because that becomes a project, making sure that the mausoleum is ready.
And Mr. Leo Mugabe, who is also nephew to the late former president, says the government and the family are no longer at loggerheads.
There is no fuet. We are okay. We are all happy. This is a momentous occasion that the government has done, and we are grateful to our government.
And many Zimbabweans turned up in numbers to show their last respect to their former president. Today, Saturday, marks the final day of the mourning period. Government says Mr. Mugabe will only be buried once his resting place is ready. It is expected that Zimbabwe will be in another 30-day mourning period. Katwishi Wadia, ZNBC News from the Zimbabwe National Sports Stadium in Harare.
Meanwhile, President Lungu, who was accompanied to Harare by former presidents Dr. Kenneth Kaunda and Rupia Banda, signed in the Book of Condolence, which has been opened at the Robert Gabriel Mugabe International Airport in Harare. President Lungu said the people of Zambia are devastated by the death of Mr. Mugabe. And Dr. Kaunda said Mr. Mugabe will be remembered for his sacrifices in the liberation of the people of Zimbabwe. Meanwhile, Mr. Banda said colonialists want to paint Mr. Mugabe black, despite many good things he did for the African continent. The Department of Immigration has deported Chief Executive Officer of Topstar Communications Company Limited, Yi Jian, for using derogatory and abusive language. Immigration Public Relations Officer Namati Nshinka says Mr. Yi was deported on Thursday, 12 September 2019, under a warrant signed by the Minister of Home Affairs. The ministry says there were reasonable grounds to believe that his presence in Zambia and conduct was likely to be a danger to peace and good order. Mr. Nshinka said Mr. Yi is on record to have used derogatory and abusive language not only towards employees of Topstar but also towards government officials on multiple occasions. In a statement to ZNBC News, Mr. Nshinka said during his time as Chief Executive Officer, the company has been abrogating certain provisions of the Employment Code No. 3 of 2019. Local Government Minister Charles Banda says the ministry will from now onwards supervise land allocation by local authorities across the country. Dr. Banda, who was accompanied by Ndola Central Member of Parliament Emmanuel Mlenga, said this when he inspected the reserved land for Ndola's Levi Mwanawasa Stadium car park, which has been encroached by developers. Here's a report.
It has given up on the 8.5 hectares which is part of the 11.3 hectares of land which was reserved for development of the Levi Mwanawasa Stadium car park in Ndola, which developers have encroached. 51 structures have since been erected here, leaving only 6 hectares, which is also at stake. And according to Charles Banda, Minister of Local Government, this is regrettable.
It's difficult now to move in. You see how much people have settled into there. All we have to do now is to regularizing the place. We are going to work in close collaboration with all our councils in land distribution. The councils have let us down in most instances.
1,261 meters from Hillcrest roundabout is this block-making entrepreneur who is putting up this structure less than 50 meters away from this stream. For Dr. Banda, these are some of the activities leading to climate change, and as such, this structure has to go down as it poses a threat to this source of water.
Napa kubika mashini tuwabalanga n'okusumina basumina nomba bakanso bamubene mwaisa okweba tifiri wrong why parapene pa beginning tamulkanina.
The instruction I'm leaving behind to the council is that they should pull this thing down, don't continue building. If they allowed you to construct this, that's their problem now.
Dr. Banda later had a meeting with developers at the council chamber.
We are going to regularize those plots,
but also we need to secure the other land which has remained.
Copperbelt Province Permanent Secretary Bright Nundwe called for sanity where matters of land are concerned.
Illegality is illegality. Please, let's have order.
Frank Chingambu reporting.
You're watching the main news on ZNBC TV. Just now we go for a break, but do stay tuned as we have more news yet to come.
Zambia National Broadcasting Corporation Employment Opportunity. The Zambia National Broadcasting Corporation is a statutory body established under Chapter 154 of the Laws of Zambia to provide public service broadcasting in Zambia. Mission: to provide quality radio and television throughout Zambia in order to stimulate cultural, social and economic development while generating commercial value and attain financial viability for the corporation. Vision: to be the broadcaster of first choice serving public interest. The corporation is now seeking highly qualified, self-motivated and creative individual to fill the position of Director General. Job purpose: to provide the strategic direction for ZNBC in the provision of quality radio and television services throughout Zambia by framing the policy and strategy for managing the entire corporation, determining its direction in terms of development and growth with the mandate given in the Zambia National Broadcasting Corporation Act, Cap 154 of the Laws of Zambia, and the direction of the Board of Directors as well as general guidelines to evolve the necessary policies, philosophy and plans. Responsible for the generation of commercial value and financial viability for the corporation. main duties and responsibilities, develops and implements a long-term strategy and vision for the corporation that generates satisfactory levels of share owner value and positive reciprocal relations with relevant stakeholders, evaluates ZNBC budget plans, including strategies against objectives or policies submitted by subordinates from all directorates, providing guidance, advice, and ensuring that submissions are realistic and attainable. Thereafter, presents the budget to the board for approval. Ensures that necessary resources are marshaled to finance, equip, and run the planned operations and capital projects. Ensures continuous improvement in quality and value of the corporation's radio and television services towards the realization of the corporation's mission and vision. Minimum qualifications and experience. First, a degree in engineering, business administration, mass communication or related field. Postgraduate master's qualifications such as MBA. Minimum of 10 years experience at senior management level. Must be in good standing with a relevant professional body where applicable. Personal competences and attributes. Good strategic and business planning skills, good interpersonal and influencing skills, excellent communication skills as the job holder has to interact at the highest level with major stakeholders, good management and leadership skills, able to galvanize the entire corporation into achieving results. Interested Zambian nationals meeting the mentioned requirements should apply, giving two traceable work and professional references, enclosing photocopies of certified academic and professional certificates, latest resume, and a day contact phone number to the board chairperson, Zambia National Broadcasting Corporation, Mass Media Complex, PO Box 50015, Lusaka. Closing date for receipt of application letters is Friday, 20th September 2019 at 17 hours.
Welcome back. We continue with the news. Chief Government Spokesperson Dora Selia has called on political players to desist from interfering with operations in government institutions. Ms. Selia says institutions like the Anti-Corruption Commission have been eroded due to interference by politicians, both from the ruling and opposition party. She said this during a meeting with Patriotic Front PF district officials in Petauke today.
Because government institutions are government institutions. They must be protected. Because if we destabilize government institutions, who is going to protect us? This is why you have seen people want to ridicule the Anti-Corruption Commission and say it's not doing any work. So who's going to do the work for the Anti-Corruption Commission? Party cadres? Opposition leaders? No. There are people who have had the training to do the work properly, and we must allow them to do their work. And as not just a member of parliament here, but even as a government spokesperson and on behalf of government, is that we must allow government institutions to do their work.
Special Assistant to the President for Policy Monitoring and Implementation, Andrew Chela, has called on residents of Chilulu and Misisi areas in Lusaka to desist from vandalizing drainage infrastructure. Mr. Chela said this shortly after inspecting Maziopa and Bombay drainage projects. Here's a report.
Debris, effluents and effects of vandalism are visible. These are now unpleasant features surrounding the Bombay drainage system in Lusaka being revamped ahead of the rain season. However, the harsh effects of floods in Lusaka might be lessened in the next rain season, as works to revamp Maziopa drainage project have been completed, while the Bombay drainage project has recorded 98% completion rate. This came to light when Special Assistant to the President for Policy Monitoring and Implementation Andrew Chela inspected the Maziopa and Bombay drainage projects.
As much as these are grant-aided projects, people have to appreciate the fact that for a country to qualify for a grant, it must meet certain conditions. and those conditions don't just end at the actual construction.
Millennium Project Completion Agents Zambia Chief Executive Officer Pamela Kasese-Walya said the two projects have gobbled over 57 million United States dollars.
In fact, a lot of money has been spent on engaging people on what needs to be done in order to safeguard the investment that has been put up here.
Some residents in Lusaka's Kamala and Churu area are confident that the modernization of the Maziopa and Bombay drainages will reduce the occurrence of floods in Lusaka. Despite the robust efforts to revamp the drainage system in Lusaka, the measures are being hampered by the indiscriminate disposal of effluents in the system. Moreover, some residents are vandalizing the guardrails. Hanok Kasama, ZNBC News in Lusaka.
The Japanese government says access to electricity services in rural areas can contribute to Zambia's quest to diversify the economy. Japanese ambassador to Zambia, Hidenobu Sobashima, was speaking to ZNBC News in an interview during the inspection of the 33 kilovolts power line set up in Kapirimposhi. Here's a report.
Access to electricity remains a challenge for many, especially in the rural areas. However, in a bid to change this scenario, government is encouraging private sector partnership to increase access to electricity. Among them are cooperating partners such as the Japanese government that decided to set up a 33 kilovolts power line covering a stretch of 45.5 kilometers in Kapirimposhi. The power line caters for Lukanda area, where a school with over 600 pupils whose lives has changed following installation of power at their school last year.
We'll be able to undertake all those science rated subjects, even the computer rated subjects. It will be easier for us.
For the teaching staff at Lukanda School, having electricity is a game changer in science and computer-related studies.
Most of the teachers wanted very much to be in town due to lack of power. Now that we have electricity, we are even having a shortage of houses. Everyone wants to shift here.
Jonathan Simbe is a caretaker to one of the households in the area and narrates how he is earning an income out of the power supply.
Life ya change mushira fishing whereby operates kwa mafriziti
Zesco Limited Chief Engineer Grid Extension Officer Justin Changala disclosed that the 800,000 United States dollars tracker-funded power line has opened up the area to investments.
Electricity is being used in various ways. Like at the school, they are using it to carry out some studies. Also, they employ it on the computer, the usage of computers.
Chansakunda, ZNBC News, Central Province.
We go for another commercial break, and coming up after that is safety news. Do stay tuned. Now, safety news in detail. Zambia Correctional Service Regional Deputy Commanding Officer Lusaka, Evelyn Simonga, says first aid is a vital step in improving chances of survival in case of an emergency. Ms. Simonga says first aid education is an important tool in correctional facilities that have huge numbers of inmates who are prone to any sort of emergency. She was speaking when she officiated at the Red Cross and Red Crescent Society World First Aid Day in Lusaka. And Zambia Red Cross Society National President William Chisoko said a number of people are killed from injuries or accidents because adequate and timely assistance is not provided. This was in a speech read for him by Zambia Red Cross Society Disaster Management Chairperson Fred Kasongole.
Michelle Mugala, Irene Gowan.
First aid is an essential component not only to the Red Cross movement, or is it mainly in terms of disaster, but it is also essential to individuals and community. In line with the Factory Act Cap 514 Section 85 Regulation 18 under Bullet 49 of 1995, which states that Where 50 persons or more are employed, there must be at least 5 people or more trained in first aid with first aid box in place, and where 100 persons or more are employed, there must be at least 10 or more trained in first aid, and additional first aid boxes or kits are required.
Every year, millions of people are hurt or killed from injuries because adequate and timely assistance is not provided effectively. First aid reduces deaths, injuries, and make impact during disasters and daily emergencies. First aid also provides an immediate response to an emergency, taking life-saving measures until professional help arrives.
And that is the end of Safety News. Thank you for watching. We'll continue with the main news. 13 students from the University of Lusaka have left for Israel on a 10-day training program on wealth creation and innovation. University of Lusaka Coordinator Executive MBA in Leadership and Wealth Creation lecturer Cynthia Sumaili says the purpose of the program is to help students to be more innovative in the field of wealth creation. Mrs. Sumaili said the trip to Israel will also help students learn how that country has managed to grow the economy from its local resources. Meanwhile, executive MBA student Moses Mutawe said the program will help students to learn more on innovations and wealth creation.
Think outside the box, to think more about Zambia than just expecting foreign aid to come into the country. We have a lot of resources in the country. Unfortunately, we're not using these resources. We can actually grow and we can actually develop, but if the spirit that we're going to have is that of expecting foreign donors or foreign investors to come in the country, unfortunately the wealth will always be taken out there. So the purpose of the executive MBA in wealth creation is to train our people to think about Zambia as a country where they can actually thrive, they can actually do businesses from our very own resources.
And the whole point is for us to learn more innovations from Israel and come and apply it locally, because the whole point of studying the wealth creation is so that we use our local resources here to create wealth. And so we just want to learn concepts and come back and apply them so that the wealth should remain in Zambia as opposed to having foreign direct investment coming in.
Government, through the Disaster Management and Mitigation Unit, has given 8,930 bags of 12.5 kilograms of millimil, among other assorted foodstuffs, to Chongwe District for distribution to vulnerable families affected by the hunger situation. Chongwe Member of Parliament Japhet Mwakalombe told residents that the relief food will be in the district in the next 1 week. Mr. Mwakalombe, who is also Cobalt Minister, said this when he distributed other assorted items to the old and disabled in Mwalubemba, Muyanga and Powanga villages, which have been given to his office by the Muslim Welfare and Society Trust. Meanwhile, the Muslim Society Trust representative Ahmed Dasu thanked government for its continued implementation of policies that favor investment.
Because also of the enabling environment that His Excellency the President Mr. Edgar Chagwa Lungu has put in place, companies, businesses are thriving. Because they are thriving, they want to plow back in the community. I want to assure you that this government will not make anyone die. And all those liars who are circulating lies that the government is stopping people, I'm sure you have seen one of our Zambians who was UPND in South Africa that has resigned. He has been distributing millimil in the southern province. So us as government, we have not stopped anyone.
And we are very grateful to our government who has given us a chance to come and set up our businesses in this country, where we invest our money, and from the profit that we make, we also contribute to the community of this country.
Health Minister Chitalu Chilufya says government has made significant strides in the fight against HIV and has continued to explore ways of tackling the epidemic. Dr. Chilufya said this in a speech read for him by Ministry of Health Permanent Secretary in charge of Technical Services, Dr. Kennedy Malama, during a dance awareness dubbed Step Up Africa. And American Embassy Director Public Affairs Sean McIntosh said Zambia has potential to reach epidemic control by 2020 through the support of its cooperating partners such as the American government. He says the American government has contributed over $4 billion for the fight against HIV/AIDS in Zambia since 2004.
Zambia appreciates that for any meaningful development to occur in our country, we need to invest in the youth, primarily in the youth. We believe as a country, we need to take advantage of demographic dividend which the young people present. The young people are the future of this country. There is no way we are going to talk of socio-economic emancipation if we neglect the young people. So we'll continue to treasure this group as a country, looking at the various facets of socio-economic development of the country.
And traditional West and Southern African dance styles. This year, the group is celebrating its 25th anniversary of its founding. With its roots in Southern Africa, it's no surprise that the group has themed its visit the Year of the Return. The visit of this illustrious group is a demonstration of close cultural connections between the United States and Zambia. Step Africa's work in Zambia, however, is more than just cultural exchange. It is also about calling on youth to step up and take an active role in the quest for HIV epidemic control and ultimately for an AIDS-free Zambia.
Parliamentary Chief Whip Brian Mundubile has challenged youths to help in changing the narrative that Zambians have a poor reading culture. He said this in Lusaka last night when he officiated at the double launch of 2 books, namely I Am Factor and The Coming of HIV/AIDS to Chikankata. An author of The Coming of HIV/AIDS to Chikankata, Joseph Hachintu, said the poor reading culture in the country should not only worry academicians, but every well-meaning Zambian. Meanwhile, I Am Factor author Balewa Zulu advised young people to be innovative and create self-employment if the country is to develop.
I made it in memory of my friend. He's still alive. And I say memory because sometimes we like to take things very casual. I said a lot of us, we like to nshimonize. This is how it is. So every day is just like that. So that is nshimonization. If you ask me if it exists, I'll tell you it does. Because you know what? I'm enhancing my I am.
The book is not easy. It's not an easy undertaking. And therefore, we applaud those that have gone outside of their comfort zones to venture into writing their own books, which are great and a great asset to this nation, and an additional to the pool of knowledge around the world.
Generally in Africa, the reading culture and that of writing are waning. We are very poor generally in that area. But the particular case for Zambia actually is worrying, because in Zambia it's not even only waning or reducing. I think for me it's like the reading culture and the writing culture in Zambia is just very, very poor.
Be a youth all the time. Use your energy right now, when you can, to achieve your dreams, to achieve your purpose. Because peradventure, if you do not discover that, nothing will work for you.
Patriotic Front National Youth League chairperson Kelvin Sampa has challenged youths in the country to form cooperatives to allow government help them with capital. Mr. Sampa, who is also Kasama Member of Parliament, says government has a budget for youth empowerment which can be accessed at any time provided the right procedure to obtain the funds is followed. He said this today when he addressed youths at Kolima Tower bus station in Lusaka.
Sana ripoti nsangire kuno
ati ama youth base kuno you are very well behaved kana alolesha vonse misepela mwevali pano uteko wenu na ukwata ifintu ifingi fyakumyafya fyakumwafwa nomba problem yetu kwete tatuleya kubuteko nama instructions ubuteko wapela so that vamuafwe mulingire mwaipekanye kuba ready kuchita receive empowerment mulila ve empowerment gatwamiletera kind of empowerment not tukomfafuti ati awo balisheta
mwe barengere buno buteko bube mu government omolero tureyito kwebati we are a political party in government icho kanshi lyonse twishibo kwebatiro turesangwa mu markets turechita represent ba president turechita represent chipano chesu cha PF.
To sports news now, where Green Eagles' chances of making it to the CAF Champions League group stage have suffered a setback after a 2-1 defeat to Angolan side Primero de Agosto at the National Heroes Stadium. This afternoon, Green Eagles failed to capitalize on their home advantage after conceding 2 goals each scored in both halves of the game. Angola's Primero de Agosto were the first to score through a 29th minute strike by Cristobal Paciencia as they had a 1-0 advantage at half-time. Green Eagles pulled an equalizer through Amiti Shamenda in the 78th minute before Agosto scored their second of the day through Manuel Afonso in the 87th minute to end the game on a 2-1 scoreline. And Primero de Agosto coach Dragan Jovic said the game was difficult but managed to score 2 goals away. Meanwhile, Green Eagles coach Agri Chiangi said the team lost today's game due to lapses in the defense. The CAF Champions League second leg encounter between Green Eagles and Agosto will be played on September 29th, 2019 in Angola. That sporting note brings us to the end of the news. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Patricia Ellis. Bye-bye.